All right. Likutei Halachos, Hilchos Tefila Halacha down. We're still in the story. Okay. So they went. Now the four of them are going together. They went to the Gibor, the Chacham, the Baal Tefila, and the treasury, the minister of the treasury of the Melech. They went together, and also the idols of the American idols, the rich guys, the billionaires, were with them. And they went to another country, another principality, and they asked the Shomrim about this Inaf on the Medina, who is their Melech. So they said that since the storm went, they chose them this Medina, that the Tachlis is somebody who talks. So they took from Melech somebody who was a Baal Loshen, a Litzo. He was the Moshe. אנחנו מקליטים, סליחה. I saw a person was a Baal Loshen, Baal Melitza, a talker, they learned this French guy used to speak to himself even. Now they found somebody who could talk. Heaven and earth would stand when he was talking. So they got him for a melech because the previous melech, the French guy, gave over the Malucha. So since he's such a Baal Loshen, such a talker, they realized that he's the Melitz of the melech. So again, they asked to see him, so they got Rishus, they went, they recognized each other, happy, they were crying together. And now they start to see that Hashem is matzliach their way. They're finding all of the Melech's crew, all the king's crew, all the king's men. So they were told that all this is because of the Elech about Tefila. That he's all the time he was down for it. So they told him that. Says now they were going, maybe they can find some more. This is a big inyan, by the way. I don't want to be misakev on this too much. It's a big, always when something good happens, should be Tefila in Tefila. When somebody told the Rebbe that people told him that a mikveh is not helpful. So the Rebbe says, why you Tefila bad in mitzvahs? Be Tefila in Averis. He says, any doctor that says the mikveh hurts is not a doctor. It's not a doctor. He says, as long as the water is not too cold, there's no problem with the mikveh. This is fakir, he says, open the pores. He says, it's very good. The mikveh is very good. The mikveh is not good, it's not conducted. So you see the things that are happening, the schos of the Baal Tefila, the tzaddik. And they went to another Medina and they asked them, says, who is their king? So these are the people, that took the simcha and drinking and rejoicing and merriment. That was their tachlis. So they took a drunkard that would be their melech. Then they found a person who was sitting in a sea of wine. Somebody is sitting in a sea of wine, he must be the biggest drunkard there is. So they're making for a melech. So again, so that was the lover of the king. That was sitting in a sea of wine that became from the words of Nechama, of the Melitz. So by it became a sea of wine. They thought it was a drunkard. And again, same thing happened. They went to another Medina. It says, who is your melech? And it says, their king is Miss America. And they're fastoyer, because that's the tachlis is birth. And they thought, and then, so they took a meantime Miss Venezuela or something, that he should be the one in the meantime. Then they found somebody of unbelievable beauty, and they took from the, then they understood this must be the daughter of the queen. So again they met her, and you can understand the simcha that was there was unbelievable. So they said, what happened? So how did she get this? He said, when the storm wind came into their palace and took the baby, the precious baby, so she ran after the baby. She couldn't find him. And the milk, pushed, and this became a sea of milk. And these people of the Medina found her, and they made a melech. And they all cried for the baby, and her mother and her father, she doesn't know what. And here, her husband came, the Gibor, her husband came. Now, the Medina has a melech. So the Bas Malka asked the Baal Tefila to please go around her melucha and clean it from their filth, because obviously if their main thing is female beauty, so you can imagine they were like totally immersed in this time. So she asked the Baal Tefila, so at least now, cleanse it a little bit. Because now, for them to get the taiva is like the emunah. Like in America, and then everybody that goes after America, that's the emunah. The emunah is the more taiva, the more. People are marrying horses and pigs and whatever not. It's like this is constitutional. They should be marrying cats and doorknobs, whatever. It's like, that's the tachlis. So at least she purified them, but then they went to look for the rest of them. For the melech, who is the king? So their king is 1 year old. Because they said anybody who has shefa mezinis and he doesn't eat from food of regular people. So first of all, they took this rich guy who was eating tons of nightingales, really. But then they found somebody who was sitting in a sea of milk. And it says that person is feeding off the food of regular people don't feed them. So they took him a melech. And he's only 1 year old. Because his food is milk of a 1 year old. So that's the baby that got lost. So they met him, and he recognized him, even though he was a small baby, but he was a chacham gomer, he was a complete chacham from birth. And obviously the awesome simcha that happened there, it was unbelievable. And those who cried, they don't know what happened to the queen. And he says, how did he came? He says, he was snatched off by the Wasa'ara. He would, sustain himself, whatever it is that he could, until he found to the sea of milk. He understood the sea of milk is most probably from his mother's milk. So he sat there in the sea of milk, and he was sustaining himself from this milk until this Medina came and took him as a milk. Then went to another place. So they said their tachlis was murder, killing. So they took a Ratzayach, one, Bandi, what is his name? Bandi, I don't know, Eichmann, or he's should we do it. So then they saw a woman sitting in a sea of blood. So they said they're going to go such a big Ratzayach sitting in a sea of blood. And that was the queen, but all the time she was crying, and from her tears it became blood. They said they're not the melech, and then he says, who's your melech? The main thing is covered. They found somebody's a covered, and then they found an old man sitting in the middle of the field with a crown on his head, and they liked him a lot. It says he's a big chobet, he's sitting in the middle of the field with the king on his head, and they understood that he is the melech. So they asked Rishus, they come, and they met him, everybody were excited, and these American idols, the billionaires, they were with him. They didn't have a clue what the heck was going on. What's the simcha? What is everybody so happy about? They didn't get the whole thing. Now that everybody came together to this kibbutz HaKadosh, they sent the Baal Tefillah to all these Medinas to fix them and to rectify them, and to bring each Medina from its shtus, from its specific mistake. Now, the Baal Tefila had the koyach to fix them all, because he got koyach and rishus from all the kings of all these Medinas. They had to listen to him, because this kibbutz was the kings of every single Medina. And the Baal Tshuva went with this koyach to purify them and to rectify them. B'ezras Hashem, tomorrow we'll continue by the rectification of this kingdom of money. That's still problematic.